innovative uses of data for customs. Well, and we will be touching upon interesting issues like the newest technologies using customs and successful projects by use of data. In this session, we will have the chance to be informed about the use of data in customs for innovative purposes, the impacts of blockchain in work of customs, and how the enforcement activities are taken through the effective use of data. So let me introduce you the distinguished speakers. First speaker is Mr. Eric Rabenja, Director General of Madagascar Customs Administration, and he will focus on the measurable results and methodological perspectives in Madagascar using data to fight against corruption. Secondly, we have Mr. Mourad and Maouchi from Delft University, Netherlands, and he will make a presentation on defense. He will be presenting Nexus project and Illicit system. So I would now start and kindly invite Mr. Eric Rabenja for his presentation.
Ici à Malatya, Turquie, pour cette conférence PICARD. Évidemment, c'est toujours un peu fastidieux de commencer l'après-midi, en début d'après-midi, mais je vais essayer d'être clair et d'être vraiment précis dans mes propos. Comme donc il a été dit tout à l'heure, je représente donc aujourd'hui Madagascar pour essayer de partager avec vous l'expérience qu'on a fait au niveau de Madagascar, au niveau de l'administration des douanes, pour la lutte contre la corruption, en utilisant les données qu'on a pu enregistrer depuis quelques années. Juste un petit rappel, donc on était en Tunisie l'année dernière où moi-même avait pu présenter un peu cette notion d'expérience sur le contrat de performance qui a été mis en place à Madagascar donc, depuis un an maintenant, ce qui nous a permis, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, d'avoir pas mal de données sur le comportement des inspecteurs. L'objectif, un peu pour rappel de ces contrats, était évidemment l'augmentation des recettes, la réduction des délais et surtout de pouvoir détecter les anomalies sur le comportement des inspecteurs à cette étape-là, accompagné évidemment d'une restructuration des ressources humaines. Au fait, ce qui s'est passé, c'est que avant le contrat de performance, les inspecteurs avaient l'habitude de garder la déclaration avec eux, même s'il n'y avait pas d'infraction, et de jouer un peu avec les importateurs pour pouvoir soutirer de l'argent et faire de la corruption. Et là où le point qui va être traité aujourd'hui, c'est que les inspecteurs aussi à cette époque faisaient semblant de ne pas traiter les messages de risque au niveau de la gestion de risque ou de traiter les risques en mettant des actions, mais sans vraiment avoir des résultats d'un point de vue augmentation des recettes. Donc, chaque mois, il y avait des bulletins qui ont été distribués pour les inspecteurs. Et donc, si les inspecteurs n'atteignent pas leurs objectifs, ils avaient des sanctions, ils sont mutés dans d'autres postes par rapport à ça. On verra tout à l'heure dans le slide un peu le résultat, un peu de tout ça. Pour juste passer un peu en revue, qu'est-ce qu'on va discuter un peu. Donc, une discussion sur les risques qu'il y a au niveau des procédures, un petit résumé d'impact et des effets du contrat performance, un petit résumé des analyses, des messages de risque qui ont été établis pendant ces 2 ans, et avant de conclure sur ce nouveau projet d'expérimentation, on peut vraiment l'appeler comme expérimentation puisque on va vraiment mettre en place une expérience qui sera faite avec les inspecteurs en analysant leur comportement. À noter que cette expérience a été faite en collaboration avec certains experts de la Banque mondiale qui nous assistent techniquement dans cette expérience. Comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, on a donc là-dessus un peu le schéma des déclarations au niveau de la douane. Donc, on a des risques de corruption au niveau de l'enregistrement des déclarations et aussi au niveau des attributions et des dispatchs des déclarations. Et la nouveauté qu'on vient de voir, c'est qu'on a pu constater en analysant un peu les données pendant ces 2 années qu'il y avait aussi une grande corruption au niveau de la consolidation des messages de risque qui ont été envoyés aux inspecteurs. Quelles sont les conclusions qu'on a pu faire pendant ces 2 années? Donc c'est toujours, on avait obtenu dans ce sens que on avait toujours pensé que les inspecteurs, les informations qui ont été envoyées aux inspecteurs n'étaient pas suffisantes. Les inspecteurs essayaient toujours d'esquiver un peu les messages de risque, mais au fait, les informations ont été bien complètes, mais ces informations qu'on appelle les messages de risque ont été vraiment intentionnellement non utilisées par les inspecteurs, soit pour soutirer de l'argent, soit des fois qu'ils ne respectaient pas l'ensemble des messages, mais ils utilisaient juste une partie des messages pour pouvoir soutirer de l'argent au niveau des importateurs et des transitaires. L'analyse des données pendant ces 2 ans nous a permis que plus le message est de qualité, on va parler tout à l'heure qu'est-ce qu'on entend comme qualité, plus le redressement est élevé. Mais dès que le message n'est pas très clair, le message de risque n'est pas très clair, mais dit toujours juste risque de fausse déclaration, risque de fausse facture, risque de fausse déclaration d'origine, on n'a pas de résultat par rapport au redressement qui devait être fait par rapport à ces risques-là. Quels sont donc les facteurs de risque qu'il y avait à cette époque-là, jusqu'à maintenant? Donc évidemment les classiques, hein, problème au niveau de l'intégrité, problème au niveau de l'éthique, problème aussi, on a découvert aussi, problème au niveau des informaticiens. Les informaticiens manipulaient un peu les données sur le dispatch des déclarations et dans l'autre sens aussi sur la mise en place des messages de risque. Et surtout, je pense qu'on va en discuter tout à l'heure aussi, les difficultés qu'ont eu les inspecteurs en matière de redressement, surtout sur l'application des valeurs transactionnelles lorsqu'il y a eu des infractions. Donc, comme je l'ai dit au départ, il y avait donc des effets qu'on ne pensait pas trouver lorsqu'on a mis en place le contrat de performance. Donc il y avait toujours cette collusion entre les transitaires et les inspecteurs. Il y a cette histoire de manipulation de système et surtout cette histoire de faiblesse des contrôles pour les déclarations qui étaient normalement à risque élevé. On a pu faire donc des calculs là par rapport aux données qu'on a pu accumuler pendant ces 2 ans où on a vu que, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, plus le risque est spécifique et très détaillé, plus on avait des résultats par rapport à ça. Donc la situation où on est, et on va discuter tout à l'heure, c'est au niveau vraiment de la qualité des messages de risque. Juste pour vous donner un peu une idée de la situation des calculs qu'on a fait par rapport à ça, on a 2 systèmes, un système qui nous travaillons avec une société privée, avec une pré-analyse, et un système de gestion de risque aussi, avec des messages de risque, qui est fait par l'administration, où on a pu quand même voir que c'est à peu près les mêmes pourcentages sur les traitements de risque. On a donc les caractéristiques des déclarations, les possibilités de manipulation et surtout ce qu'on appelle la suspicion et les actions qui devaient être menées par rapport à tout ça. Lorsqu'on a fait un peu l'analyse de ces données pendant ces 2 ans, on s'est aperçu donc sur un échantillon des déclarations que malgré qu'il y avait des messages de risque où il y avait, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, la qualité des messages de risque qui était très bien, il y avait toujours, on n'avait pas toujours enregistré des redressements des déclarations correspondant à ce niveau-là. Et on a fait le calcul de ce qu'on appelle la coefficient de détermination de la relation entre les valeurs redressées et les messages de risque. Et cette coefficient était très basse, 0,1, ce qui nous permet un peu de conclure qu'il n'y avait pas vraiment de relation entre les messages de risque qui ont été envoyés par la section de l'analyse des risques et les résultats obtenus au niveau du contrôle des inspecteurs. On peut voir dans ce tableau le calcul qu'on a fait par rapport à ça. Donc on reste vraiment sur la coefficient R2 dans les proportions de 0,11%, alors que cette coefficient devait être dans les 0,3%. Maintenant, donc, c'est quoi la nouvelle expérimentation que nous, on veut mettre en place? C'est cet esprit de qualité des messages de risque. Qu'est-ce qu'on entend par qualité des messages de risque? C'est que dans notre analyse, quand les agents de l'analyse de risque font leurs études, on aura donc présent vraiment d'une meilleure qualité des messages de risque. Qu'est-ce qu'on entend par meilleure qualité? C'est analyser les incohérences entre les documents joints à la déclaration. C'est-à-dire vraiment avoir des idées très précises sur la comparaison entre le BL, la déclaration d'exportation, les packing lists, la facture. Dès qu'on a vraiment des informations précises sur une incohérence sur ces points-là, surtout sur des chiffres bien précis, on est à peu près sûr que l'inspecteur ne va pas oser aller chercher à dévier un peu, à ne pas redresser la déclaration dans ce sens. J'en reviens un peu à ce problème de sous-facturation dont je pense une grande partie des pays en voie de développement font face actuellement. C'est que, d'après ce qu'on sait, c'est qu'au niveau de la mise en place de la valeur transactionnelle au niveau de l'article 7 du GATT, même si on a des preuves matérielles à ce qu'il y ait une sous-facturation, et lorsqu'on voudra maintenant redresser la valeur transactionnelle, la douane devrait toujours utiliser la valeur transactionnelle enregistrée pour une marchandise identique ou similaire, au moins sur les 3 mois, en utilisant les 6 ou les 7 méthodes dans ce sens. Donc, dans ce sens aussi, on a donc pu constater un problème de corruption au niveau des agents, puisque au lieu d'aller chercher dans les bases de données pour avoir les valeurs qui correspondent à certaines valeurs de référence pour nous permettre de redresser la valeur, les agents, les inspecteurs vont aller dans des sites libres du genre Alibaba pour trouver des valeurs plus basses que les valeurs de référence qu'on a. Donc, on a toujours eu du mal donc, à avoir vraiment des résultats. Évidemment, ils vont constater l'infraction, mais lorsqu'ils vont redresser la valeur, ils vont toujours essayer d'avoir une valeur encore plus basse. Donc, l'approche pour cette nouvelle expérimentation, c'est de obliger les inspecteurs à travailler dans le sens où, lorsqu'il y a des informations de messages de risque très clairs, ils sont vraiment surveillés et ils doivent suivre à la lettre ces messages de risque qui ont été mis en place par la section analyse des risques. De même aussi, les équipes de l'analyse des risques vont être mis sur contrat de performance aussi pour qu'ils puissent aussi avoir des notations sur la qualité des messages de risque qu'ils vont envoyer dans ce nouveau projet. On aura donc dans ce sens 3 groupes. Un groupe qui serait juste traiter le groupe C, qu'on appelle le groupe C, qui va traiter les déclarations normales. Il y aura le groupe A qui va traiter les déclarations qui seront sélectionnées par un comité, où on va mettre que la déclaration va être révisée par une équipe spéciale qui est dirigée directement par le directeur général. On a pu constater durant ces 2 années d'études que lorsque c'est vraiment l'autorité qui donne l'ordre de bien vérifier la déclaration, on a des bons résultats. Donc on va essayer d'analyser leur comportement lorsqu'ils auront ces messages-là. De même, il y a une équipe E où ce sera vraiment, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, des messages de risque très détaillés où les agents aussi pourront avoir des détails sur les données, sur les derniers mois en matière d'ajustement et en matière de valeurs transactionnelles enregistrées au niveau du système. La nouveauté aussi par rapport à ça, c'est que le contrat de performance qui a été fait auparavant, c'était juste réservé à 1 ou 2 bureaux. Maintenant, tous les bureaux de Madagascar vont pouvoir être concernés par ce nouveau projet d'expérimentation. Et pour encore rendre un peu compliquer les choses, toutes les équipes, que ce soit équipe E, et que ce soit M, A ou C, vont être maniées toutes les semaines. C'est-à-dire qu'il y aura un groupe d'équipes qui va travailler chaque semaine dans une équipe donnée, et la semaine d'après, il pourra être dans une équipe pour qu'il ne maîtrise pas l'outil par rapport à tout ça. Qu'est-ce qu'on attend pour ce nouveau projet d'expérimentation? Évidemment, on espère que les inspecteurs vont être comparés et suivis d'une manière assez rigoureuse. Et on va voir donc le comportement de cette petite population qui va changer toutes les semaines si on les compare avec la population normale, avec les déclarations normales, puisque normalement, s'ils se sentent vraiment encadrés dans ce sens-là, on aura des résultats. On fera cette expérimentation pour 6 semaines et on verra donc les comportements de chacun. On a mis en place aussi un comité de suivi. On espère, d'après les calculs qu'on a fait avec les valeurs de référence que nous, on dispose, on espère qu'on aura à peu près une augmentation de revenus d'au moins 7%. Donc voilà un peu ce projet d'expérimentation de contrat de performance pour lutter contre la corruption à Madagascar. On espère présenter vivement les résultats lors du prochain PICARD. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you, Eric. I think you would like to pose questions, but I think it will be better if we start with the next speakers and see if we have time for the questions. So we will move on to the next speaker, Mr. Mourad Maouchi from Delft University. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, and glad that everybody can make it to the presentation today. My name is Mourad Maouchi, and I'm actually going to present to you today about a use case appliance of blockchain technology, what you guys probably have heard about, and how to use that in a customs way, but actually to use it for shipping containers, and how we can use blockchain to actually improve this entire process. This research has not been conducted by myself. It has been conducted by a group of students that are studying at the Delft University of Technology. And on the left side of yours, 6 students, and they actually have done a proof of concept to actually see, can we apply blockchain technology to the supply chain, to the shipping containers, and actually see if we can get benefits from it. So, first off, what we see every day is that millions of shipping containers are actually moving around the world. All these shipping containers, it's very hard to actually keep track of them at all times, and that all customs agencies actually understand what's going on with them and what's being processed. These customs agencies need to make a selection to audit these shipping containers. They cannot audit all of them, so they have to make a certain decision, and they use risk analysis to do so. And what we have here is that we have a lot of centralized data. We have a lot of data that either custom agencies keep to themselves, or they actually collaborate with others and they make a central server where all this data is stored. But the problem that we have here is that it's vulnerable to manipulation and malpractice. People can change this data and nobody will actually have a clue if somebody did so or if somebody is actually using their data incorrectly. So for that, with that idea, the students went ahead and they actually said, okay, let's see if we can actually change this because blockchain technology is said to be promising for this. And of course, they need to make privacy a concern in this because we know that customs agencies do want to collaborate with each other, but we also know that there is some data that you do not want to share with each other, or that the operators within, let's say, a company wants to keep private to themselves and they don't want to share with others. So in this presentation, I'm just going to go pretty quickly actually through the problem statement, the related work, what have other people actually been trying to do to solve this, the requirements that we have set up for the system, the contribution that we made, and I'm going to slightly discuss the prototype that we have accomplished in this presentation. So first off, the problem statement. Custom agencies receive unverified data. They receive either paperwork or it's going to be sent in a system which they can verify, but other people cannot verify. We have a large shipping manifest. There are a lot of shipping containers going through the world, and we have to check all of them. And the problems must be traced through third-party software. So, and companies, so shipping companies and everything, they also have to look into this data, and they actually have the possibility to manipulate this without other people having notice of it. And we have to use risk analysis and decisions. The customs agencies need to make a risk analysis to see which ones are we going to check and which one are we going to get let through. Are there any smuggled goods in the container? Did the captain of the ship actually just agree with it while there was weapons in the container? Did he sign off on this, or did somebody else? We need to track those kind of things. And were they actually declared properly? Did they go through the regular procedures? Do they comply with regulations for other countries as well? Simply to say, we need better data. We need better data to get through this stage, to get through these problems that I just stated. Very shortly, we actually, in this paper, talk about two actors. The customs agency, which you all know about. In this case, we actually took the port of Rotterdam in the Netherlands as an example. And we have the economic operators, any party that moves containers between countries or transfers any goods in these shipping containers. We actually made it simple because we are not in the field of customs. We are actually computer scientists, and we wanted to know if any new technology can be used for a different field. So in related work, one actually existing solution that is very known is ConTraffic. So ConTraffic actually tried to solve the problems that I just stated. However, their solution still centralizes everything. So you still have one single point of failure. If you actually get to that point, it's over, because if anybody gets in the system and they change information, there's no way to actually see who did it and what happened with it. Companies could alter data, like I just said. They could exclude or mistreat customs agencies or economic operators. They can actually just change, and especially in the world that we live in these days, they can change information of another company, and we wouldn't know. And ConTraffic is the company that holds all this information. Therefore, we have a very important issue that is trust. We need to trust all the parties, and all the parties have to put trust in ConTraffic. Otherwise, their solution simply doesn't work. In conclusion, we actually have a problem with centralization. We cannot centralize everything because we are too many companies, too many countries, and we cannot centralize all this data. So we thought of 4 assumptions, 4 requirements for the system to make it simpler. First of all, we assume that operators trust their own customs agency. So if a company is located in Turkey, they trust the Turkish customs agency to handle their stuff correctly. However, customs agencies do not fully trust customs agencies that are outside their block. We cannot simply say that an American, for example, customs agency fully trusts the Netherlands customs agency. These things we cannot say. And we say that packages in the system may only move by shipping containers. So we simplify the system by saying, instead of having it also on trucks or anything, we say if you have products, if you have packages, they go through a shipping container, and that's how they are transferred. And we assume that the route that a package takes in a shipping container is unknown. We do not know which customs agencies actually get through this entire system, because it can go through a lot of different parties. But we do know that the destination, where it has to land, so if I send a package to, let's say, Singapore, I know that the Singapore customs agency is the final customs agency that's actually going to handle my package. So customs agencies want to be able to see the data about the packages and containers entering their country. If we don't have this ability, we actually have no use of the system. They want to have control over which operators from their country can participate. They don't want any company to just jump into the system and actually just participate. They need some type of control over this. And on the other side, the operators, so the shipping companies or otherwise, they need to get a benefit out of sharing their data. They need to have a purpose why to use such a system and actually open up their data. And they have to be guaranteed that their data is only seen by the appropriate customs agency. If we ship some technology, for example, that's sensitive, we just do not want that any other customs agency can look into it. They need some sense of protection in this sense. So I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people are actually interested about the blockchain idea. So I'm just going to go very simply through what blockchain is. Blockchain is actually a simple technology that just says, I want to make a transaction. I want to state that I'm going to send from myself to somebody else a good, money. It doesn't matter. It can even just be simple data. And I'm going to broadcast that to everyone. Let's say we are all part of the blockchain right here, and if I'm saying that I'm going to send my data to party A, I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to tell all of you I'm sending something to party A. What then happens is that you all get part of this solution. You all have to validate it. So therefore, with blockchain technology, if you work together, you can do this validation very properly. If I say that the certain data has to comply with certain standards or with different types of regulation, you can all validate this. This is all done automatically. You can say, yes, this data complies with A, B, C, D, and you verify it. And this is also where consensus comes into play. If you guys do not agree with the data, or I'm actually trying to cheat the system and I'm saying that I send good data while it's bad, you do not agree with it. Therefore, you just drop whatever I'm saying. So saying that I'm sending something to A, you do not agree with it, so you just drop it. You do not care about it anymore. So anytime somebody says, yeah, but I received something from Mourad, you just go, I never agreed on this. We never did with each other. The next step in this blockchain technology is actually a block is created. A block is simply just a package. We collect multiple transactions and we put them in a block. We say, okay, in a period of time, let's say 10 minutes, we received 20 transactions, we put them together, and we distribute it. We distribute this to everyone so that everybody can see the transactions that you both have validated and the one that are concerned altogether. Some consensus also plays here a part, because in the next step, to actually connect these blocks together, so anytime we create a new block, we have to connect them to each other, so you have a transaction time, knowing that this happened first, then that happened, and then that happened. You guys also look into this and say, okay, we actually agree that Mourad said he's sending it to A, but at a certain point he also wanted to send the same data to B. That's not possible because we just agreed that he sent it to A. So I'm not able to send to two parties at the same time the same piece of information. So a lot of questions that people have about blockchain is why not use it against a database? I summarized 4 steps. In blockchain, everyone keeps a copy of the current state. Everybody agrees on a state that we are in. So if we all agree on a block being added to the chain, we all say this is it. We agree on this. In a regular database, what we do is actually there is a master copy somewhere on a server, and we just agree on it. We say that's the thing. That's the one that we need. Next up, blockchain is used for semi or untrusted situations. Sorry for that. While in databases, we actually require to trust a central party. We have to trust, for example, ConTraffic to handle all our data correctly, to have their security in control, which is not always the case. And blockchain keeps track of the history of everything. Everything that I said, you said, and any party involved in the blockchain technology, we keep track of it. We don't never throw it away, because if we throw it away, we cannot verify anymore. We cannot verify the past. While databases actually keep just a snapshot of a certain moment. They just say, okay, at time 0, we agreed on this state. Whatever happened in the past, we don't really care about, because this is what we're working out with right now. A downside that we have is that blockchain trades speed in for confidentiality. With blockchain, you can get the confidentiality that you need, but you trade in speed. But with databases, you actually trade in speed because normal databases are fast. We use them every day. Whenever you log into Facebook or whatever, there's a huge database that works extremely fast. But we cannot have the same confidentiality. So if we summarize this, we see that we have 3 good points for blockchain, but we only have 1 for databases. But we have situations where speed overcomes all the others. We need more speed. We need better performance. So that's why you need to take these things into consideration. A very known graph that is used by a lot of people, both in companies or whatever, is, do you need blockchain? Do you need to store a state that you all agree on? Are there multiple writers to the system? For example, multiple customs agencies. Can you always trust an online TTP, where TTP is a trusted third party? So you're including someone else that you trust. Let's say ConTraffic as a company. Do we all know the writers that are part of the system, or is it open, like we have in cryptocurrencies with money every day? We don't know who owns money, but you can always trade money. So these are steps that are very basic, but are fundamental to actually make this decision. And one thing that is always the case is if trust is no issue, if we do not have trust problems in our situation, and we just want confidentiality, blockchain poses no advantage. So only if we have trust issues in our system, we want to look into blockchain technology and use it. So with that, I go into the contribution that the group made and where I supervise them. So they made a blockchain setup. They said operators, so shipping companies or whatever, run nodes that can broadcast claims to the network. Let's say operator A. I ship container X to operator B, like I explained it before. Operator B can say, I received container X from operator A. Because when you all agree on that state, that's the truth. That's what happened. And operator C says, I put package Y into container X. So you can see with these 3 simple steps, we actually can find a chronological order. That's why if step 1 never happened, step 2 can never be true, right? If that was the case, we're cheating the system. So therefore, we actually link everything together. And that's why we say it's blockchain. We link everything together. Nothing can happen just out of thin air. And the customs agencies run nodes that can add claims to the blockchain. They can actually add a claim, for example, as in, indeed, operator B received container X from operator A, and we check the container, and it's good. We agree on this. We put a transaction on it, saying, container X that operator B has right now, we agree on it. There's no guns, there's no nothing. We agreed on it. Stamp on it. How does this look like visualized? It's actually very simple. A says, I give something to X. Operator X uses this, and then he can use it again to actually spend X. And that's what I said. You cannot have something out of thin air. Operator X can never say, I give X to Y without X existing. You cannot make things out of thin air. And that's what we can see happen in this situation right now. If operator Y suddenly says, yeah, I received something from X, while X spent it to Z, that can never be true. Because operator X already said, I'm giving it to Z. So whenever operator Y tries to cheat the system and tries to do anything malicious, he has to prove that he received something from X. And since we can say that X gave it to Z, we can deny this and say this is not true. Sorry guys, I have a bad cough. So next up we have the privacy aspect. Like I said, we need privacy on the blockchain because we do not want to share everything. Customs agencies can actually issue certificates to operators. This is something that's being done daily. Either it's on paper or it's online. We have the same thing if you go to a website. Somebody gave a certificate to Google stating that Google is Google. Custom agencies can do the same. And custom agencies with this kind of solutions can go a step further, issuing a certificate that, for example, if we're talking about food, it is good food, it is not contaminated. They can add a certificate to the system stating, we as customs agencies check this product that's in the shipping container and it's not infected. Saying to everyone that custom agency X did their job. And operators can sign claims they make with the certificate that they used, that they got from the customs agency. So the customs agency gives a certificate to an operator, and that operator can use that certificate to make certain claims. Otherwise, he cannot, because again, you cannot make something out of thin air. It's like saying that an operator, if he does not have that certificate, he's just lying. He's saying, I got money. Well, he has not. He needs that certificate to do such things. And this also ensures non-repudiation, stating that such things like he's signing multiple things all the way around and just saying stuff cannot happen. So, and what operators can do is encrypt. Encryption is simply the fact of concealing something. Where I have a bottle of water right now, I can conceal it and nobody knows what it is. It's just an object. You don't know that it is water. They can encrypt these claims about packages. Because, like, let's say he has some claim that it contains 1,000 iPhones. He can encrypt that, making sure that nobody can see that it is actually iPhones. And he uses the public key, which is cryptographic stuff for saying that he received a key to actually encrypt it for the final destination's custom agency. Like I said before, we make the assumption that we cannot know the route that it's going to take, but we do know where it's going to end up. Therefore, we can say that the final customs agency can open it up and say, yeah, that's 1,000 iPhones you have right there. This limits the data visibility up to appropriate customs agencies. So if there was another customs agency in the middle, the only thing that they can confirm is that he got the goods in a right way. He is not making up anything. And anything that he did in the past with that shipping container is correct, ensuring to everyone part of the blockchain that it is going correctly. So the final custom agency is actually able to decrypt it because they are the recipients. They can actually look into it. Very simple, visualized, it's literally this. A package goes in a container, the package is encrypted, the shipping container is not. Because you need to know that it's a shipping container, but I do not need to know what's in the package. So what about validation? How do we do that in that case? Well, claims about packages cannot be validated because they are concealed, they are encrypted. If you do not know what's in it, you cannot say anything about it. But we can say things about what happened in the past with the package or where it was in a shipping container. That's why we can actually look at claims about containers and those can be validated. For example, the double spending I said before. If operator A says I'm shipping it to B and C at the same time, only one of it can be true. It never can be both. And that's the double spending problem that blockchain originally also solves. So going into a prototype for the system design, because we wanted to know, can we actually do this in real life? Can we actually look into blockchain and make it useful? So nodes in this network, so parts of people, are custom agency and operators. They are all part of the system. It's not just a single one or just the custom agency. They are all part of the system and they cooperate with it. Operators sign and encrypt claims. So, concealing the fact about packages. And containers move through different customs agencies. Therefore, we needed to actually encrypt it to the final destination so that intermediaries cannot look at it. So the final destination actually can decrypt the package content and verify the claims on the packages to make sure that even at the end, we still know that what was said is actually true. This is a very simple system design, and actually there exist blockchain technologies to aid us in this. So as a conclusion, we saw that we made a prototype, actually the group of students did, but they made a prototype of the Fend, and they actually saw with the use of literature about how many shipping containers are moved, how many things are being processed per second, that it is actually feasible. We can actually use these kind of systems for customs. We can actually get it done and make claims and whatever about packages more useful. And this project has actually also been pitched to the Dutch customs agency at the port of Rotterdam, which saw a huge benefit in the system, and even to Delft, which is a company that actually looks into potential solutions for different areas. But as any system, we also have limitations. The limitation for this prototype, because it was based on a certain blockchain technology, because there are a lot of different ones. What they found out is that the amount of transactions per second might not be enough. So the amount of claims that the entire world, if we connect them all, the amount of transactions they can make per second, any claim about anything per second, might not be enough. But we do see that blockchain technology is improving, whereas at the beginning we could only get 7 transactions per second. That was the original Bitcoin idea. We can actually get to 100,000 these days already. So we are expecting it to actually grow even bigger in the future. And for this system to work, and for any blockchain system to actually work correctly, we need a lot of participants. We need customs agencies to be willing to join the system. We need operators that are willing to actually share their data, even if they can encrypt it. Only then we can actually make this a useful system. Otherwise, we are just camping with too little data, and we cannot use it for the future. And one thing that was not taken into account in this project is that if you have multiple customs agencies in the middle, and you actually always want to make sure that certain customs agencies can see it. If it goes through Turkey, Spain, France, Belgium, and we know that it's going to go to Belgium, but we also want Spain to look at it. This has not been considered, but this is possible. It just has not been done in this project. And furthermore, we actually do a lot of things at the Delft University of Technology in this sense. We look into logistics and how we can use blockchain technology to aid it there. I personally made 2 systems myself while graduating called Trade and Decouples, which one is completely open, so everybody can see every data that's going through it, while Decouples is a privacy-preserving system to actually make sure that even the fact that I'm saying I'm sending something to person A, you should not be seeing that I'm sending him something. But everybody can verify that I am allowed to send something and that what I'm doing is correct, which are more heavy systems, because the more you talk about privacy, the more performance you need, and performance goes down with cryptographic operations. And we even have a company based in the Netherlands at this point called BlockLab that does a lot of research in the logistics area. With this, I want to conclude my presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mourad. And we will continue with the next speakers, Marco and Cecilia, and then if we have time, we will be taking questions from the floor.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So today I'm here to present the work conducted by me and my colleagues Alberto Aziani and Marco Dugato on 2 projects to monitor and counteract transnational flows of illicit cigarettes through an approach that combines research and technology. These projects are carried out by Transcrime Research Center, which is a research center within the Cattolica University in Milan, and it's a research center active since 1994 that worked on nearly 150 projects on the issues of crime and security, and Crime and Tech is a spin-off of the center that tries to develop actual tools to fight crime and on crime and security issues. Okay, so from past research, we learned that criminals rely on complex routes to sell their illicit products, And these routes depend on very different determinants. So in order to develop effective tools to fight these illicit markets, we need to quantify and understand these routes and also to understand the determinants behind them. So in this presentation, I will focus on the trade of illicit whites, which are a specific type of illicit cigarettes, and I will present you an approach that tries to combine academic research with applied technology to support custom agencies in fighting the illicit whites issue. So as I said, this is the work of two different projects. One of them is more focused on the research side, and it is the Nexus project, while the other one, it is more focused on the development side, and this is the Alice project. So in the Nexus project, what we aim to do is to quantify illicit cigarette flows in 57 different countries located in Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. And what we try to do is to trace how these cigarettes flow from the country of origin to the final markets where they are actually consumed, and to map each step of this route. Finally, we also aim to identify the determinants of these paths, and in order to develop effective policy instruments to tackle these flows. So this project started in December 2017, and it will end next April, and so it is still an ongoing project. I will then leave the floor to my colleague Marco, who will tell you more about the Alice project, which developed a searchable system that basically stocks information on legal requirements of cigarette packs. So in order to help custom agencies in identify whether a specific pack is an illicit white, and this system is under testing in more than 10 countries worldwide. So starting from the research phase of the research side of this approach, the Nexus project in the first phase aims to estimate and quantify illicit cigarette consumption in 57 different countries. Illicit cigarette consumption includes consumption of counterfeits, consumption of cigarettes that are legally produced and taxed but are then smuggled into higher priced countries, and this is what we call contraband, and illicit white cigarettes. Illicit white cigarettes are legal in the production phase but are produced in one country just for being smuggled and sold in another country without payment of import taxes, in countries where actually they usually have no legal distribution. And to give you a clearer idea of what illicit whites are, I will show you this very quick video. Okay.
Illicit whites are tobacco products that are generally legally produced in a market, primarily to be smuggled into another where they have limited or no legal distribution. How does this illicit market work? Consider a company that legally produces cigarettes for different countries. When the company exports cigarettes in countries where it has a legal market, it will pay import taxes and the cigarettes will be legal. If the company decides to intentionally produce more cigarettes with the purpose of exporting them in countries where it has limited or no legal distribution, it will not pay import taxes at the destination country. And these cigarettes become an illicit product, illicit whites. The illicit whites market has been growing in the last few years. Therefore, it is important to understand how to combat it. The identification of illicit whites brand is difficult mainly for two reasons. Firstly, since every country considers as illicit whites different brands based on its own legal market, the same brand can be legal in one market, but it could be considered illicit whites in another one. Secondly, since these products are compliant with the legislation of the country of origin, their identification is more complex compared to other illicit products, such as counterfeits.
Okay, So as we saw from the video, illicit whites follow different dynamics compared to other types of illicit cigarettes, and since these cigarettes are produced in a country, but they are actually produced to be sold in a different market, it is very important to take into account multiple markets together when we try to estimate illicit white flows. So I will give you I will try to explain you the methodology that we developed to estimate illicit white flows. The data we rely on comes from these EPS, which are empty pack surveys. These are surveys that basically collect discarded cigarette packs from public bins and from the streets, and use this data to analyze and estimate how the consumption of cigarettes is distributed within each market. So, relying on this data, we developed a model that we try to, our methodology tries to model producer behavior, and what we do is to compare the consumption of each brand in the intended markets of destination of that specific brand with its consumption outside of this market. And when we find that this brand has very high non-domestic shares compared to what's the consumption in the intended markets of destination, we flag the brand as a brand of illicit white. I will show you some of the results of the project. So this is the intensity of illicit consumption. So the total illicit consumption as a share of the total consumption of cigarettes in 2017. And this is the total illicit consumption, so it is the sum of consumption of counterfeits, contraband, and illicit whites. We see how illicit consumption is especially high in Western and Northern European countries, which have high cigarette prices, so a high incentive to turn to the illicit market for their consumption. And we also see how illicit consumption is high in Southern, Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, and also in North Africa, so in countries that are located in strategic transit points for the inflows of illicit cigarettes, and also located near to countries that are key sources of illicit whites and cheap contraband cigarettes. So turning specifically to the consumption of illicit whites, this map shows illicit white consumption as a share of the total consumption of illicit products. And we see how Western European countries and important markets like France and Germany tend to consume other illicit products like contraband, while illicit whites are a key component of the illicit consumption in many other countries, especially countries in Eastern Europe and again in the Middle East and North Africa. So we see also here how Belarus looks as a key source of illicit whites for the neighboring countries. Very quickly looking at the origin of these illicit white cigarettes, this graph shows the evolution of the origin of illicit whites from 2013 up until last year. The great majority of cigarettes have an unspecified origin, meaning that in the survey was not able to assess for which market they were intended to be consumed. And this is a very specific characteristics of illicit white cigarettes. There is also an evolution, so we see how in 2014 illicit whites coming from Russia have gained a greater importance, and more or less in every year 10% of the illicit whites have an origin in Belarus. So this map shows the distribution of consumption of illicit whites coming from Belarus, and this also gives us a first hint on how these cigarettes travel to reach their final destination markets. So in this case, we can see how illicit whites from Belarus have are intensely consumed in the neighboring countries, and then also travel to Western Europe to reach other markets. This is a similar map showing the consumption of illicit whites coming from Russia, and in this case we start to see a kind of a northern route, so of these cigarettes flowing into the neighboring countries in Estonia, Latvia, and then traveling to the other countries. They have a high consumption in Poland and then also in the UK. This is the same map for very different countries, so Chinese illicit whites. In this case, while in the previous case, we saw how these cigarettes were also following land paths. So in this case, we see how they tend to enter Europe from Western European ports, and we see how Chinese illicit whites tend to specifically target the markets of France and the UK, and not to, their consumption is not very spread out in other European countries. So this brings us to the second phase of the project, where our aim is to reconstruct each step made by these cigarettes in order to define effective control strategies. So our starting information is the origin country and the final destination country where the cigarettes are consumed. What we did was to reconstruct the network of all countries, and in this network, we looked for the most convenient paths going from the origin to the destination country, where convenience is defined by putting a cost to each edge connecting every pair of country. This cost is based on a function that uses information on similarity in consumption between the two countries, on the geographical distance between the two countries, and on information also on seizure cases. So what we did was to put together a very large database by looking for information on seizures in news articles and in custom reports to actually understand where cigarette seizures took place. So this is the map we saw before, showing the distribution of Russian illicit whites, and in this example, we try to map how these cigarettes travel to reach Germany as final destination market. And these are the routes that we reconstructed. We can see how most of them tend to rely both on a land travel, and then they are shipped by sea to reach Germany. And they tend to rely, as a first step, they tend to be shipped on neighboring countries, and then they are shipped to Germany. We also identify Poland as a key transit point for these cigarettes, and we also identified some southern routes that go into Ukraine and then into Slovakia and Hungary, then to finally reach Germany. So the next phase of the project will be to validate these results with the experts to actually see if what we found out with our data is a good picture of what's really happening there, and to understand the determinants behind these routes. And I will now leave the stage to Marco.
Thank you, and good afternoon. So what we saw at the moment is basically the research part. So we have gathered some data, we have collected from mainly an academic, I would say, perspective, of course, with also practical implication. But what we decided, and this is also the main aim of, as Cecilia said before, of Crime and Tech as a spin-off of the Research Center Transcrime, is actually how can you actually create and use this information to support practitioners, and in this case, of course, customs, in the solving and the tackling of this specific issue. And what we see here is that if we summarize the information that we had so far, we see that, yes, the identification of illicit white is very complex. It's not barely possible to define a worldwide list of illicit white brands, because as we saw before, different countries may consider different brands as illicit, depending on the legal market allowance. And also because what we know is that at the production, illicit white cigarettes are purely legal products. So they become illicit only when they reach the final destination market. And this is quite important because also put some constraints to the authorities in the origin countries that cannot do a lot of things against industry or factories that are producing cigarettes there, because they are producing there according to the legislation. They're not like counterfeit factories. So what is an effective strategy that custom can be used? Of course, the only thing that we can do is, if we cannot rely on the brands, we can rely on the packaging and labeling information. And in particular, looking at the tax stamps, looking at, for instance, the health warning on the packs, and try to see whether or not they are compliant with the legislation in the destination countries. What we also know about illicit white, and that emerged from the Nexus and previous project that we did, that usually illicit white are smuggled in large quantities. It's not like the hands trafficking that we saw also in the presentation yesterday. This is a very large quantity of smuggling because they're basically it is basically made directly by the producers. So what they did is they trafficked in large containers or entire trucks of cigarettes that move from one country to another. And also what we saw also from the map that Cecilia showed you before, you don't have almost always a transit point between reaching the final destination market. So to moving to country A to country B, they usually pass at least to one country C. And when passing into this transit point, illicit white are usually declared cigarettes. That's why, because they are legal products until they reach the final destination. So there is no need for criminals to conceal them. Because, of course, if you find something that is concealed, you have a suspicion that this is illegal. But if you find a container of declared cigarettes, you may think that they are already legal products, and you don't really need to make further investigation of them. So for that reason, it's absolutely important to provide to the customs some tools that help them in the definition and the recognition of illicit white when they are in transit, when they are declared as cigarettes, and potentially also improve the communication among authorities across different countries to send alert and potentially early warning regarding a specific issue. And this is exactly the idea behind ALICE. Again, we have prepared a little video that's probably explained to you better how ALICE works, and it is probably more effective than my speech.
When a cigarette shipment reaches a custom house, a customs officer may do a random inspection. He may verify the shipping documents and conduct a detailed inspection of the cigarette shipment. The customs officer inspects the cigarette shipment and analyzes the cigarette pack. To understand whether the cigarette packs are compliant with the legislation of the destination country, the customs officer could use ALICE. ALICE allows him to see the picture of the cigarette pack that is compliant with the legal requirements of the shipment's destination country, and to have more specific information on these requirements. If the customs officer decides that the cigarette packs are compliant with the legislation of the destination country, he could release the shipment. If the customs officer verifies that the cigarette packs are not compliant with the legislation of the destination country, he may take further actions on the shipment, or report possible irregularities to the competent authority of the destination country.
So basically, the idea behind ALICE is to provide to the custom authority, especially in the transit point, because we realize that the transit points are the weakest point of the criminal networks or the criminal transaction between one country to the destination one. And it is basically a searchable system that contains almost the information of almost all the countries worldwide about the legal requirements of the cigarette packs in respect to tax stamps, in respect to health warning, and other specific characteristics of the packs. And this is a web application, and it's also available for Android smartphones that you can directly download. it is currently, as Cecilia said before, tested in more than 10 countries, and hopefully in more, if some of you will join us. And it is, of course, available in multi-language. So for the moment, we have English, Italian, Spanish, French, and Arabic language options. And last but not least, it is free. So you can use this, you can download it. The only thing that you need is ask for us for the credential for access to this. It is free because we have sponsors that support this project, and so we can provide it to the customs authorities for free. And if you have any information, if you want to know more, or simply if you want simply to test the application and to see how actually it works, we are just outside this room with a little stand, and you can come to us or speak to me, Cecilia, or Alberto for gathering more information, and we'll be delighted to provide you access to the system. So thank you. If I have 1 minute more, I will show how the system works in real life. Okay. So hopefully, so this is the system. This is a web version. Of course, you can have also the mobile version available. And now I'll try to enter with my credential. Try not to mess up with the, okay. Okay, so basically what you have here is the possibility of searching for all this full list of countries that are the country of destination. So let's imagine, for instance, I'm in Turkey, and I have a transit that is going to Italy. But I may be not aware of what is the legal legislation in Italy, so I don't know if the cigarettes could be actually sold legally in Italy. And if I need or not to report to the Italian authority that there is some suspicious transshipment. So what I can do is to write down here or to scroll the list, oh, sorry, because the E, and search for Italy, because you have different options. And the system basically provides me how the cigarette should look like. Of course, you don't find any brands, because it could be any brand from any producers, because we are not relying on brands, but we are relying on the necessary elements that should be on the pack. So tax stamps, as you can see here, or the health warning and the language. You can also move the pack so to see the different angles. You can also have information about the different health warning. Sorry for the images, it's not my, the details. So for instance, whether or not the pack should have, for instance, information about the underage legal age sale agent on the pack, or it is not mandatory to have it. Finally, you can have the reference to the law, which is important if you want to report to the authority in the destination countries. The system may also allow you to create and send directly an alert. In this case, the Italian authorities already are using this system, so you can send it directly using the app, or by compiling some of all of those countries and also potentially attaching photos or other documents, you can copy to your own email and send it to other, because we know the sensitive issue sometimes when we want to send an alert, you may not want to do it using an app, you have your channels, we are fine with that. What you can do, you can simply prepare let's say a standardized form of information, and then you can copy to your own email and send directly to the authorities in the destination country. So thank you for your attention, and for any questions, we are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco, Cecilia, and thank you to all the distinguished speakers. Well, we are a bit behind the schedule, but I think we may have 1 or 2 questions that can be coming from the audience. Yes, sir. Microphone.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a serious concern about the illicit white smuggled into the country. You mentioned about the tracking solution system, how the custom officers can identify whether it's a legitimate import or an illicit one. My question is, now the tax stamps association, they are introduced to introduce the tax stamps for the tobacco and the alcohol products. Certain tobacco consignments have been shipped to one country to another country via a transit point. I don't know whether you are aware of on-board trade or the trade facilitation in one country. They import into that country. That particular consignment is split into several consignments into different destinations. But those cigarettes are legally produced in that country. Only solution I can recommend in this, the tax stamps reference numbers of the producing country. Otherwise, the parallel import is not prohibited in one country, whereas if they declare it and pay the tax, it is not illicit white. But your system will not reveal when it is imported legally into a destination. So how would you suggest, in such a situation, in a parallel import, illicit white and the legal importation in coming into one country to track and trace the illicit products?
Yeah, just a quick answer.
Yeah, okay, so sorry for the questions. Maybe for the details we can then discuss in details. But the idea behind that is that, of course, there are, as you said, specific cases. But those are very, let's say, specific cases that you have. The idea here is not to provide a system that tells you, hey, look, this is an illicit white for sure. The idea is to provide you a support that in most of the cases, when you don't find correspondence between the fact that there is not a tax stamp as it should be, or not, this may raise a suspicion. And the role of a customs in this case would be to communicate to the customer in the destination country, say, look, there are these shipment, it may be a right, it could be declared. If it is legal, they will probably also declare it at the destination country, and this will not be a big issue. But the problem is that usually when there are illicit transshipment, they conceal it in the last piece of transportation. And in those cases, it is very difficult for the authorities in the destination country to understand, or at least to have any hints of where they have to search for those kind of products. Whereas, since they are declared in the transit country, the authority in the transit country can communicate to the one in the destination and maybe send an alert. An alert that does not mean that they have to stop or they have to necessarily take a further action of that. Simply, they could communicate a potential illicit. Then it is somehow the role of the authority in the destination country to decide whether or not to take any further action, or to decide if this suspicious illicit white in the end is a simple legal product because of parallel trade or whatever.
Thank you. I think these are all interesting subjects, and I think we are behind the schedule. Maybe it will be the right thing to discuss it during the coffee break if you would like to go into details. I think it is the time to close for the moment, because maybe there are one or two questions, or the microphone, please. Microphone is coming to the gentleman there.
Thank you for the very informative presentations. I have a question for the presentation that came in from Madagascar. There were issues of integrity and ethics mentioned regarding the inspectors. I'd like to know whether any sanctions were put in place after the introduction of your new systems, and if there were any prosecutions regarding recalcitrant inspectors. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
One more question, and then we will just close. Yes, sir. Okay.
Should I just blockchain the microphone here? Or?
Thank you very much for all the presenters. I have one question to Mourad. I know the blockchain is a new technology which is recently implemented in some countries. But if I understand correctly from the presentation, blockchain can use for issuing phytosanitary certificates. In this case, currently most of customs administrations are using a single window to exchange information among the regulatory agencies, such as phytosanitary certificate and health certificates. So what is the platform of this blockchain? Is it planned to interface with single window, or it has its own platform to exchange information among the regulatory agencies? If that is the case, it will have its own single window platform inside the blockchain. So how is your plan to harmonize these two technologies? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think there will be a response from the blockchain, and we will be having a coffee break, or just a break afterwards.
Yeah, well, thank you for your question, and that's true. One thing that blockchain actually introduces, and some people might find that problematic, is that a lot of companies or custom agencies or whatever have their own systems in place at this point. With blockchain, what you actually need to do is to actually create a new platform. The thing is that you shouldn't really think about it as the idea that you have right now with, for example, visiting a website. If you visit a website, there are servers at a certain point, at a certain location, where you actually interface with. And that's what you're talking to, and that's whatever is happening. The thing with blockchain is that instead of having that singular server in place, you have computers at every location of the parties that are participating. So if you have like 5 customs agencies and you have 100 operators in that system, you actually have 105 computers that you're talking to. And it's in a sense, it's a big mesh network. What you're doing is whenever you're communicating with it and you say, I want to send a new transaction into the system, you have to just broadcast it. Since in this case, if you're talking about customs agencies, for example, you already know who's all participating. You join the network. So the moment you join the network, you already exactly know which parties are involved. So what you're doing is sending out a message, and that message is just going to get broadcasted to everyone. And in that sense, you do not all hold one platform. What you have is a replica of that exact system that you own, that you're communicating with, and everybody else has the exact same system. So it's like I'm taking a computer and I'm actually making a copy, not only just a single copy, I'm just making a complete copy of the computer and giving it to everyone. And from that point on, whenever you talk with it, you're actually talking to your own computer, you're talking to your own computer, and that computer says to the rest, here's a message that somebody just sent out, and please validate it, and if you all validate it and you want to make a block, let's do that. So it all goes automatically. Instead of having a single computer which you always have to maintain and always have to adjust, you actually have a bunch of computers so that if you ever experience a faultage or anything, or if your computer goes down, the system will never go down, because the only thing that happens is that you are down and the rest is all still up and running. So making it the single point of failure not existent. As with traditional systems now, if I am communicating with between, let's say, the Netherlands and Turkey as customs agencies, and you're sharing information and you know of each other that you hold a certain information, when my computer goes down, for example, of the Netherlands, Turkey can say anything they want. I do not have I cannot make any assumptions or anything about what he's saying is true or false or whatever. I do not have anything left for myself. So I do have to completely trust the other party that what they own, their data, is correct. While the situation of blockchain, you do not trust one person. You do not actually put trust almost at all. You trust the entire network to actually work together. So it's true that if you have a network of 100 people and 99 of them are doing something malicious, it's not going to work. But therefore, you need an incentive. And the incentive that I said in my presentation makes things easier. You can validate stuff more easily. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. I think now it's time to close up, but I will first give the floor to Mr. Rabenja, because I skipped him because I took the questions and they came immediately. So Eric, please, would you like to respond also?
Oui, évidemment, il est prévu dans tous les contrats, que ce soit le nouveau contrat d'expérimentation que l'ancien contrat, des sanctions qui sont graduelles. Donc ça va de l'avertissement et qui peut aller jusqu'à l'affectation. Mais toujours est-il que dans tout ça, il faut reconnaître qu'on est encore dans un système de fonctionnariat à Madagascar. Donc il est toujours très difficile pour l'administration de renvoyer vraiment un agent malgré une faute grave qu'il a effectuée par rapport à ça. Merci.
Thank you. I think it is time to close for the time being. Many of the speakers and also the questions were about highlighting the innovative use of data for customs. I would like to thank you all for your participation, and thank you to the speakers, and thank you for your active participation. Thank you very much.